I think it's good.
Ready? Yep. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of McCandless meeting of Town Council, April 27th, 2026. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to God of the United States of America, to God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'd like to start the meeting tonight with a few announcements. First one, the Town of McCandless will be hosting an e-waste event here in the parking lot in Town Hall on May 9th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Registration is not required for this, but it is first come, first serve, and will conclude at either 11 o'clock a.m. or when the dumpsters are full, whichever occurs first. Please see the website for more information on acceptable items. Second announcement, in the month of May, due to the Memorial Day holiday, there will be only a town council meeting that will occur on Monday, May 11th at 7 p.m. at Town Hall. Next is, as the town continues to celebrate its year-long 175th birthday, a salute to service is scheduled for 6 p.m. on May 22nd in North Park at the corner of Ingermore Road and Babcock. This event will include singing the national anthem, an honor guard flag display, and a bagpiper performance and more. Please plan to join us that evening. We want you to note that Town Hall is a primary polling location and that we're open during regular business hours on May 19th. Now an announcement from Mr. Schwen.
Thank you. One thing that I need to point out to everybody, last year we made a decision, President Singer did at the time, to change how we had the public address council at the podium, and we let people stop the practice of stating their name and their address whenever they addressed town council. Resolution 12 of 2016 is still in effect. It's never been repealed, replaced, etc. And it does state people shall state their name and address prior to addressing town council. We need to have that policy continue because it's the current policy of council. If council chooses to change that, they could choose to do so. I would not recommend that they do so. And we've seen situations with that in recent meetings. So I'd like to point out that number 3 of section 1. Also, in order to maintain order, the president may rule out of order any offensive, insulting, threatening, scandalous, obscene comments as determined by the president to be disruptive or to otherwise prevent the orderly conduct of official business. Keeping that in mind, I ask that the audience, while we're in here, in this place where we can speak freely about agenda and non-agenda items, to be respectful of each other, be respectful of town council, make sure that we're addressing town council only and not addressing members of the audience. I ask that anybody who wishes to carry on a side conversation in the audience remove themselves to the hallway during the meeting time so that those who are speaking have their fair chance to speak and council can focus on the comments that are being made. If anybody has any questions about that resolution, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Schwen. And now at this time, we'd like to recognize Scout Troops 329 and 9329. This is our Memorial Park Scout Troop for the construction of our flag retirement bin. I think you deserve a round of applause if that's needed. Please stand up so everybody can see you. Thank you. We appreciate as young people the respect that you give our flags, and it was long overdue to get rid of the recycling bin that we had, and we really appreciate your efforts to make our town hall good and make the recycling of flags possible for our citizens. So thank you very much. At this time, one thing I do want to add 2 announcements. I'd like to thank everybody who came out on the dreary day for the cleanup on Saturday. Every time people show up, it makes our town a better place, even though it was a little wet. We really appreciate your efforts. Are there any other announcements from council?
Yes. We lost another firefighter, a lifelong firefighter, James Huff.
who was a life member out of Highland. He dedicated his life to the public safety in the town of McCandless. And out of respect, I would ask for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wall.
The second announcement that I have is that for the first time since COVID, McCandless residents will be able to have summer recreation from grades K through 6 at Ingomar Elementary School, July 6th through the 10th. We have announcements on the McCandless webpage on how to register. I want to thank Liz. You did a great job on that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I did see that flyer would look really cute, and I do encourage people to take advantage of this. Tigers Leading Tigers is the theme of the program, where we have young adults working with the younger children. Should be a great event. Okay, if there's no further from our council, we'd like to open up to public comment for agenda items only. As Mr. Schwen noted, please come forward, state your name and address.
Hi, good evening, Marcia Caliendo, 10529 Abbey. With respect to Mr. Schwen's comments on the policy of public comment, I do think it's, we sign in and I always put my address, and I think putting the address should be sufficient, and we shouldn't have to repeat it. I also looked at that policy today, and you talked about stuff that you do at agenda review meetings, which council doesn't have anymore. So you need to review the policy anyway and revise the policy. So I would suggest, you take a look at that. I would request that we don't have to repeat our address. I have it written down on the paper. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Kathy Neidhart and I live at 313 Guinevere Drive. And I didn't plan on being here 2 meetings in a row, but I wanted to talk about the waste management review real quickly. The extension and the renewal. I think I might be one of the lucky ones because I never have really had any problems with waste management over the years. An occasional missed pickup, but nothing that wasn't remedied the next day. So personally, I have no issues with them. We pay about $78 every 4 months. We do get the senior discount. So my rate would be about $85. And as you all know, we get 3 cans, garbage, recycling, and yard waste. And then sometime over the last several months, they added the opportunity to put out 1 bulk item every week at no charge. You need to schedule ahead, but it's still a nice perk for the residents, I think. Our neighbors in Ross also have waste management, and they're not so lucky. I know firsthand because my daughter resides in Ross and pays about $150 every 4 months for 2 cans, 1 for garbage, 1 for recycling, no yard waste. I'm not positive, but I think that's picked up by Ross DPW. The residents are also permitted 1 bulk item a month on a scheduled pickup date with advance notice. They're paying almost twice as much as McCandless residents and receiving about 2/3 of the service. They had no choice. Let me back up. For whatever reason, the Ross commissioners only got 1 bid, and waste management was apparently that bid. They had no choice, and now the residents are getting ripped off and paying the price for the council's actions. Rates take a significant hike every year. And if you think I'm exaggerating, you can all go to the Ross Township Community Facebook page, just put in waste management, and you'll see more comments than you want to see. Members of the last McCandless Council negotiated a very fair long-term contract with waste management, one that clearly protected the residents from something like what has happened and continues to happen in Ross. They represented all of their constituents. I'm asking council to please put the necessary time and effort into our next garbage contract, regardless of who it is with. No hasty decisions, please. Make sure enough bids are solicited so you have choices. If it turns out waste management would be the only choice, please negotiate a contract with them with the residents' best interest in mind. And I realize some residents might still have some council members might still have the luxury of living at home and don't realize how bills add up, but they do. You'll be in our shoes one day, so please think of everybody when you do your due diligence on this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Barbara Richards, reluctantly giving my address again, 305 Manor Court. I don't think that that's necessary. I think we had talked before about the problem with putting these up on YouTube and then our addresses go out to the public. So I hope you will revisit that and think about that. Also, I'm looking at this, the current program for meetings, and it says a separate period of public comment shall be held for each agenda item considered at each advertised regular and special meetings after comments are made by council, but before the item is voted upon. Now, that's not clear as to whether then people can comment after each agenda item or after all of the agenda items, the way we do, it doesn't mesh with what we're doing now. So
Actually, we have public comment after every individual thing.
I'm sorry, what do you say? You're talking to me?
Yes, ma'am. We have public comment that's listed on our agenda.
Respond as council.
Okay. So I just wanted to point that out, that, which is it? Is it that we're going to comment with each agenda item or before all the agenda items as we're doing? Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your comment.
My name's Charles Fidel. I live at Mount Avenue, 1485. And my concern is about this waste management. This service that we get from waste management is horrible. I mean, it's been that way for years. When Jolene was the secretary here, I used to talk to her every day because they either didn't pick the garbage up or they threw my garbage can across the it's up when they're in a bad mood. When they're in a better mood, I guess they put them on the side. I don't know, but the service is just terrible and it's very iffy. And especially as we get into summertime here, when I put the garbage out the night before, I'm gonna worry about the raccoons. And if I don't get up early and make sure the garbage is in the can, they're certainly not gonna pick it up to put it in the can. Then they don't pick it up that day. So I gotta wait another night and get up in the morning and make sure the raccoons. It's just service. Jerry, when she would call, I get some response and I get the call. I can't even get somebody to talk to. Call me back. Well, second thing was what this is going to in 2026, and you're really hurting. I mean, there's no question. Used to be through your garbage from with 7 days left. Days notice. Got to be, I'm sorry, people travel some to visit our grandkids and our kids that are out of state. And now the party, for me, it's that I'm never. And I just think that's, I thought that so waste management that we're getting this bonus of putting an item that we picked up, refrigerator or stove. It sounds really great. How many refrigerators and stoves does anybody put out at the curb? But what you did change was that you couldn't put bags out before your bags out to your garbage. Waste management. Now, $36 for everyone you put up. And I would guess that most people put out it's next to the garbage can, the refrigerators out at the curb. And and I think probably a better. I mean, waste management is just, I'm probably have garbage pick up. So
Hello. 6 Saratoga Drive. It's in regards to waste management as well. I know garbage is a daunting task in the town. I don't feel that they do that bad of a job, but I think they could do a better job. And that being said, just I volunteer on 13 streets in our neighborhood and keep those streets clean. I pretty much circulate there every couple of days throughout the neighborhood, and I pick things up on garbage day. I literally go around and follow the truck, pizza boxes, cans, things that fly out of the garbage truck. And I've actually gone up to the garbage man because he was ready to drive away. And I said, "Are you going to pick that up?" And he did get out, kind of begrudgingly, but he did get out and do it. I'm asking you as the council to try to enforce this garbage time that you put the cans out. 7 o'clock is the time the night before. And you should be at 7 o'clock the next day. That being said, their garbage cans out for Wednesday last night, 3 days ahead. They go and make trips out to can and take their garbage. I think that's stupid. I don't know why you would want to keep going back and forth your can all week. There's a man in Saratoga, Magellan, has had his garbage can out 24/7. There's no on the can. So when the stuff blows out, no lid. There are things very close to the street. They don't take them back to the house. They're like right under the tree at the street. Looks bad. Another tried to, but I don't know that this is, we get a lot of bad storms. It seems like on Wednesday is our garbage day, and we always get storms Tuesday night. It seems that way. I guess we're just lucky, but I had said maybe the garbage company could send out if there's a bad storm an email and said, "Don't put that garbage out until the next morning," so that you run the risk all night of all that garbage blowing everywhere all night. They're not going to come until 6 o'clock anyway. So why do you have to have it out 12 more hours for the garbage to blow around? So an email from the company to say that, but please try to enforce. If you go through right now, you'll find 10 houses with their garbage cans out, and people that keep their recycle bins, yard waste on the street 24/7 because they don't want to carry that back and forth as well. So it just really brings the neighborhood down. These are little things that I'm just asking. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, Rita Martin, 105. Yes, we have a different experience. I think they're doing a great job in my neighborhood anyway. I put out 5 bags plus 2 green carts. And I didn't know you were not allowed to have that much. And the gentleman stopped and came over and said, you shouldn't have this much out, but I'm going to take it for you anyway. And we've always had that experience. So I think it depends on the driver. I think it depends on, who's driving the truck that day. So I'm very positive about that and just want to put my 2 cents in for waste management.
Thank you for your comment.
Paul Heckman, 105 evening. To Rita's comments with, I had the same, it's pretty but a reasonably good job for us, but yes, I go through places where I can see they've maybe not done that. And I think as everyone has said about calling and making the complaint, if you don't call and make the complaint, the problem is never going to be fixed. And unfortunately, sometimes on some things, we complain and complain and complain, and it still doesn't get fixed. I don't know what the solution is to that, other than to complain and complain and complain till they get tired of talking to you. To make it better. But the real reason for my other question tonight is the last resolution on the store's devices. having a private hydrant on our HOA property, we assumed all along, because I had talked with the chief visitor about getting one of those to be put on. I'm glad to see that it's now going to be part of the resolution. I'm assuming the way it's worded that it is still up to the private owners to buy that device and have it put on there. The way it reads, it's maybe just a little vague over they should be furnished. Well, furnished by whom? So I think having just the additional words that the owner is responsible for doing this. And if anybody has that situation, I have a gentleman in Ross who has the business now, especially of putting the store's devices on private hydrants. And I'm also doing maintenance for them, including painting them when they look as shabby as ours looks after 20 years. And he will also inspect them to make sure they work, which is really nice to know when the fire truck comes that your hydrant works. Apparently, the first 5 he tested in Ross, 4 of the 5 didn't work. So if you have one on your private property and you haven't opened it up recently, it may not be a bad idea. Unfortunately, we had a fire a year ago where they needed it, it would work. So it's this point. But I think the wording is tweak that little bit, is that it's not like we're going to do it as a community. You need to do your own.
Kellyanne. And members of council. Waste management seems to be the subject du jour. I will say I've got some pros and cons. The first is in terms of the actual pickup of the garbage, I don't find them to be anything other than atypical. I mean, it's fine. There's no issue with that. I will say calling waste management is a real test of one's fortitude and perseverance. It is extremely difficult, and I think that they do that on purpose. So that could be something that should be improved. And I will also finally say, in terms of the city saying, apparently the ordinance says 7 p.m. is the earliest to put it out. That is way too late to make that the earliest that you can put your garbage out, particularly in those winter months when the sun goes down at 5 p.m. Those of us of a certain age aren't going to be going out that late to drag our garbage cans to the end of the driveway. So maybe you want to just say sunset or something like that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brian Snyder, 9203 Marymount Drive in McCandless. I would echo, I think saying the address is probably not the best idea. Not so much on a waste management topic, but like some of our past meetings, you might get some interesting characters doing some stuff. So I agree with that. Secondly, kudos to the scouts. I don't know if there's anyone here. John, Trish, you guys have my email. If you could send me how to maybe use those things, our scout troop could possibly be interested. Anyway, reason I'm here, of course, waste management. I emailed everybody. Not sure if I received any response from Doug and Maureen. Thank you very much. The rest of you, hopefully you saw the email. I just wanted to kind of highlight some thoughts and ideas about that. In short, I'm in favor of keeping, and I'll explain why. Mostly reliable in my area. I'm on a dead end street. They have to back up in both ways to get there. It's a challenge, and they do it. They show up. Which is not the case in some of my other experiences in other places. I can fully understand some of the other problems. I haven't personally, with the exception of yard waste, which I'll get into in a second. So we've been fortunate. So, maybe the bulk, maybe there's some tweaks. The company as a whole, I think has been quite fine. As some of you know, I own rental properties. I've done flips. I've done a lot of different properties in 20 some years here in Allegheny County. I currently own property in McCandless, City of Pittsburgh, Ambridge, Stowe, McKees Rocks, Coriopolis, Emsworth. In the past, I've also had Shaler, Ross, Monroeville, Edgewood, Center Township, which is in Beaver County, and others that I don't recall. Uh, without a doubt, waste management, not saying McCandless, but just as a whole, has been the most responsible for actually doing what we're paying them to do. And cheaper, by the way. The bulk item thing, again, maybe there's some work there because I can understand that. Stowe Township has Valley Waste, which is one of the local competitors. Unfortunately, that is their only bidder because they have some problems with alleyways and things for pickup. Absolute mess. They've gone through 3 code enforcement officers in about the last 7 or 8 years. And honest to God, that is one of half their job is dealing with trash. They've all told me that. I deal with them all. We're Reynolds inspections. Valley, they just skip. I've watched them just skip my house. They're on the road. And that happens here. No one's perfect. So I've also had an experience with county hauling, which currently does Shaler, currently does McKees Rocks. The city of Pittsburgh, that's a little different. That's within your taxes. They do it in-house. Waste management and others that I don't recall. I would also urge you to keep the yard waste situation. I think that's a great perk. Franklin Park does not have that. They also have waste management. You put all your sticks at the curb, and eventually they pay their public works department, as you probably might know, with a chipper. I don't think we want to get involved with owning a chipper and leaf trucks. McKees Rocks, again, they have the alleyways. They had waste management for the whole time I've owned property there until till this year. Now it's county hauling, so the jury's still out on county hauling, but that's a very similar setup to Stowe and McKees Rocks with the alleys. Never once did I have a call on waste management. Valley Waste, it's eaten hours of my life out. So, as I said, I currently own 40 properties. Over the 20 years, I've probably owned or managed, flipped, whatever, about 100 of them. Waste management is the one that I've had the least headaches with. All companies have staffing issues. I personally know owners of small and medium-sized trash companies that might be one of your bidders. They have staffing issues just the same as everyone else. Trucks break, things happen. Last week, my yard waste is on Wednesdays. They didn't come. I called. I was lucky, to someone's point. I actually got someone. They had this little gizmo, had me on hold. They figured out what was wrong with the truck. They were there the next morning at 8 o'clock. So I'm not saying that's everyone's experience, but I think the ability to fix the problems are unique to a company as big as Waste Management. Lastly, before my time runs out, the toters, I think they're great. So if we do change, hopefully we can keep a scenario with that. It does keep the rodents and critters out with the locking lids, and they're attached. The yard waste, like I mentioned, Franklin Park doesn't have such a thing. What do you do with the stuff? And this one's a little bit out there, but it did happen to me also. At the old house, I didn't use the yard waste. We piled all sticks in the woods. Then they dried. Then we had a brush fire. So thank you to Ingmar for that situation. But it is a way to get around that with the yard waste. So thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ellen Wright, 9635 Old Coomer Road, Allison Park, PA 15101. I would think that many of us could repeat that address by rote memory. The resolution used to be part of the agenda packet, single spaced. There's a copy from 2023. The version that's in tonight's is double spaced, but it was in one. I don't know, but I'm wondering if the comment on the agenda items has to do with the voting things, that after council discusses it before there's a vote, that there's time for public comment. We do it all at the beginning. I don't know that for sure. I'm just guessing. So my next comment is about item number 9 on the agenda from the town manager's report. And I'm just curious who it was that decided to tear down the house on the Mayor property at Van Drive. My next comment is that on 11B for the sign ordinance, I left a written comment for the public hearing at the last meeting. I was surprised to see that it was not part of the public hearing. I left it under section 405, where residents can provide written comments. Some of the things I had said, though, were commented on not what I said, but there was a response to what I had said. So I'm going to say what I had hoped was going to be at the part of the agenda public hearing. I also left a copy for my council person, Joe Wall. I don't know if he received it or not. It was circled on the paper that I handed. I left 4 copies. I don't know what the 2 extra were for, but one was for the town manager and one was for Joe Wall. And on it, I said comments for public hearing regarding the sign ordinance number 1567 on April 13th. Please include these comments for the public hearing, item number 5 on the April 13th, 2026 Town Council agenda. Thank you. So I, of course, was concerned that the agenda where the planning commission voted didn't have it listed as a vote. They did vote. There was no amended agenda posted. The planning commission vote was a recommendation with 2 amendments. The amendments are not defined in the planning commission minutes. The amendments are not defined in the ordinance. The 60 feet maximum with no maximum length. Does this mean that signs may be any length? This was a concern for the planning commission, and it has not been addressed. The director's report includes no discussion of the 60-foot maximum length. This is prior to the April 13th meeting when I left it. Has the planning commission seen the revised ordinance presented for the public hearing? And then there were comments from the Allegheny County Department of Review. Were those part of what was available for council and for the public? And since these changes to the sign ordinance are being done for the lease agreement, is not this spot zoning? So then to sum that up for tonight, because of these procedural issues, the vote at the planning commission not on the agenda, amendments not included with the earlier resolution of today's ordinance, planning commission being told one thing about the maximum size and council something else, excluding a maximum sign length is counter to planning commission's concern, my public comments not being included, the public hearing in violation of subsection 405, while the items from my public comments were commented on. Until these procedural violations are addressed, I ask that tonight's vote on 1567 be tabled and sent back to planning commission. I'm also I have another concern too about how we got here and the lease agreement and the council members, but I will end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, are there any further public comments on agenda items?
Good evening. John Harrison, 1473 Hedwig Drive, Allison Park. As we sit there and we talk about people putting their names and addresses out there, if you're somebody who comes up and makes a comment and somebody in the audience doesn't like the comment, now you're opening people up to possibly have issues. If you have people sign in, and if it's somebody that nobody recognizes, then you ask them to see ID. It's very simple. But putting people's addresses out there in the public is really not necessarily the best thing for us to be doing. Because nobody here on the council goes and says, my name is Joe Wall, I live at Raspberry Lane, Allison Park. Nobody says that my name is Jack and I live on wherever. So think about it. Legal counsel doesn't go and say where he lives. So think about that. I think we ought to look at how we do that. The other thing, as far as everybody complaining about waste management, is waste management perfect? Absolutely not. Is there a company out there that's perfect that does trash? No. It's a job that nobody wants to do. You have to pay for to get rid of your waste. People can cut back on the amount of waste they generate by how they consume things. But when it comes down to waste management doing a bad job, I've been in the borough since 2002. They've probably been the best we've had. Matter of fact, they are the best we've had. We are fortunate that we live in McCandless and we don't live in Ross. Everybody knows that. Ross did a horrible job at what they did. McCandless, with the people that are no longer on council that negotiated that contract, did one hell of a great job doing it. And to extend that contract another 3 years so that we have service, great. If you have any problem, the best part is just read things online and listen to people complain. And the one complaint that everybody always has out there, they didn't notify me. You ask that person, well, did you let them give them a means of notifying you? Well, no, why would I do that? Goes both ways. If you have an issue, you pick up the phone, you call the borough. Anytime I've had an issue over the last 24 years, if there was a problem, the problem disappeared within 24 hours. And whether people know it or not, unless it's changed, and John, you can confirm this or deny it, either way, that there is a retainer that the borough carries against waste management. And every time that they do something wrong, they lose some of that retainer. Now, I'm not sure where the money goes that we keep. Probably goes back into the general fund, which is better than nothing at all. But waste management doesn't get that extra bonus at the end of the year. I don't know how big the bonus is. I don't know whether it may not even be something worth talking about. But if you have a problem, you pick up the phone, you call, and the people here in the town actually make things happen. The problems go away. So yes, waste management is absolutely the worst person you can possibly try to get a hold of. Good thing it's not 911. Because if it was, you'd be dead. Because you can't get through to on their phones. That's a known fact. And as soon as you have a number that actually you can get a hold of somebody, the number no longer works. So unfortunately, that's one of the parts of doing business. So I would recommend you guys to approve that. And I asked the question that I asked on the last meeting. If the city of Pittsburgh can can go and do garbage pickup, can McCandless? And my question, and I want to know why can the city of Pittsburgh do it, but we couldn't? Could we make money off of it? Could we break even on it? Yes, we could. Think outside the box. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, any further public comment on agenda items? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the approval of minutes. We have a motion,
I make
please.
a motion to approve the meeting minutes of town council, April 13th, 2026.
And do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Arlen. Okay, any discussions, corrections, anything needs to be pointed out on the agenda from April 13th? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Administration and finance reports. We'll start with the finance report for the month of March 2026. And will you be sharing that or?
I will, yes. Brittany is not here tonight. She's attending the GFOA conference, continuing the education that we like to see. You'll see the report in your packet, March 2026, currently sitting 17% of general fund revenue, 19% expenditures. Compare that in the chart at the bottom of the page to where we were in 2025, and you can see we're on track, budget over actual year over year. A few things of note in the revenue side, you'll notice that the interest accrued year to date 25 and the interest accrued year to date 26 are significantly different, about half of what it was before due to the rates that have changed. We're also ahead. It's a timing issue on the licenses and permits that have been collected and reported in March. So that'll even out in your next month's report. On the expenditure side, public safety and public works are tracking similarly to last year. Public works slightly ahead in expenses due to the salt purchases that we've made. We do have a completely full barn, and we have completed the salt purchasing contracts that we needed to for the year. Check listing is in your packet. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about specific checks in that listing.
Are there any questions from council for Mr. Schwinn? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion to approve the check listing.
I move to approve the check listing number 3 dated March 1st, 2026 to March 31st, 2026, totaling $1,873,997.64 as submitted to each member of council and posted to the bulletin board and town website.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Higgerson. All in favor of approving check listing 3, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next we have our communications report for the month of April 2026.
Good evening, council. Good evening, council. Does that sound okay? I've officially been here for a month, so I just wanted to quickly reintroduce myself as the community engagement manager. And I'll start by saying that my goal is to help strengthen and streamline the town's communications. So I'll kick it off with the social media highlights since I started. So I have done the auditing process of the social media channels and have introduced video content as a primary goal and objective to get more content and views out there to our community. And since introducing video content, since I started, we published 9 videos at the time of this report, which has equaled to about 74,000 organic views and has exceeded 80,000 since creating this report. With the social, there are just 2 highlights I wanted to mention. Our top performers over the past month were related to road closure information. There were 2 closures that were mentioned. One was planned, the Ringeson Road, and then one was in response to an incident on the intersection of Peebles and Remington. And both updates were shared in a timely manner and reached our largest amount of our audience. So just shows that being timely and sharing that information is important. So I'll continue to work closely with Brad and DPW as well as the police department to share timely information via the social channels. As well as we introduced a new series. So every week we'll be sharing a recurring content series next week in McCandless that just gives you a quick bird's eye view of what's coming up to hopefully increase attendance and awareness of what we have going on. So then to move on to the website, in the past month, we've implemented Google Analytics on the town's website just to better understand the user behavior and what pages our users are coming to. So the early data just shows that many of the users are coming and going directly to our search function after visiting multiple pages of the website, which indicates that our navigation could be much simpler. So that is a goal of mine, is to simplify the navigation and hopefully get the community the answers to their questions faster via the website. I will be working with John and Katie on a longer term website revitalization over the rest of the year that will encompass the usability and the navigation as discussed. And I went to my first Business Alliance meeting last week, and we have a goal, and what's in development is a business directory to better promote and highlight the businesses in the town of McCandless. And then quickly under email, I encourage everyone to sign up for McMail. We send monthly email newsletters that encompass everything that's coming up for the month of upcoming. So May should be going out this week. And last month we implemented a resend to non-openers, which increased our open rate by 20%. So by just resending that to people who didn't open, we got a good chunk of people who did get the communication from us and engaged on a different day. And a brand refresh is in progress to streamline our colors, branding, etc. And there's a soft launch of that on the social platforms. Print-wise, the town crier was distributed at the beginning of April, and in there was flat Judge McCandless. So we highly encourage the town and the community to take photos of Judge McCandless on their vacations, wherever they go, and submit those to us as part of our 175 initiatives. And then just lastly, I'll be reaching out to my existing media contacts as well as contacts of the town to strengthen our relationships and hopefully increase visibility for McCandless 175 before the end of the year. Thank you.
Any questions from council, comments? I have a question. The Google Analytics, is that something that the user can opt out of sharing information?
I will get back to you on an answer on that.
I was just wondering how accurate the data was with the number of people visiting, if that impacted it at all. Thank
It's a
you.
great question.
I want to say, Liz, I've been seeing on, especially on Instagram, I like the update you've been giving it and it looks fantastic. And I like seeing the information, especially on the road closures. So I want to say, good job. You're doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I had a question about things like the road closure. I know this is a growing position and I appreciate everything you've done. Like, when that happens, do you get does Public Works contact you, or do you hear about that and contact them and get the information? How's the communication in-house, and what can we do to help you improve that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess I would say both. In those instances, Brad had directly contacted me as well as the police department. They proactively contacted
Good.
me as soon as possible. And then those were turned around in under 3 hours and posted onto the social channels. However, I'm also tapped into the different communication like forums and whatnot, just to keep updated and on what other people in the community are saying, so I can hopefully get ahead of it.
Great, thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a question. Is there any way, because you see this happen with the news organizations, is there any way that we can send out either text message blasts or email blasts to the residents of McCandless when there is a critical incident?
Yes, that is something that we are actively working on, primarily on the email side right now. SMS, I would say, is phase 2. But on the email side, what I am working on with Katie is to develop a form, a survey that asks our email list and other members of the town what types of emails they want to receive from us. So that way, if they want to receive emergency updates and closures, I'll have that list segmented and I don't send a bunch of emails to people who only want to receive the newsletter from us.
That answers half of my question, but the other question was being able to send text messages out.
I can let you know. I haven't looked further into the SMS just yet. And right now with our email lists, we do only ask for email and name. So there would be a larger effort to get records of people to get their phone numbers.
You know what I'm talking about then.
SMS text.
And there's a lot of news organizations that when something happens within the town that's gonna impact, bam, you get it right away.
Yes, there are
Like last night, a large boom. I don't know if anybody heard that.
the boom, the big
Yeah.
McCandless
I
boom.
don't know what it was.
Yes, there's 2 types. There are emergency SMS messaging that would probably lend itself better in this instance, that would actually work with the police department or directly with whoever that is that could send out those emergency blasts. I think that's more of what you're leaning towards, whereas the SMS marketing is more of those communication channels like the email. So the emergency like notification system is something that I can look further into.
And I guess you would work on that with Jeff Whistler, right?
Most likely, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your questions.
Okay. There's no further questions or comments from council. We'll move on to our junior council members report for the month of April 2026.
Good evening, members of council. My name is Christian Sparendale, here to deliver our April report. On the North Allegheny side, the National Honor Society has logged over 7,700 hours of service around the school and the community. On April 23rd, new members were inducted into the organization, and graduating seniors like myself will be wearing the NHS banners at graduation as we are replaced by the upcoming juniors. The NA Tiger Marching Band traveled to Chicago to perform the St. Patrick's Day Parade. They exhibited North Allegheny students' superb musical talents on the national stage. The North Allegheny Speech and Debate Team are officially the 2026 Pennsylvania Speech and Debate State Champions. As the championship season draws to a close, 44 students are preparing to compete in the national championships. Senior prom was successfully held on April 18th at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center in downtown Pittsburgh. Students had a fantastic time as the celebration continued late into the evening. Many students went to after prom held at the senior high school, which lasted until 5 in the morning. The senior class will get together once again on May 29th for the senior banquet held on the Gateway Clipper. The NA Senior High School Student Council elections have been completed. So the new group of officers have come up to do that. As a whole, North Allegheny students are getting ready for their annual advanced placement testing. Students who take AP classes at the end of every year, they have the opportunity to take these tests to earn college credit if they score high enough. So over the next 2 weeks, that's the main thing going on at North Allegheny. In terms of we held our first ever youth town hall on April 13th. Arjun and I would like to thank all of council for their continued support for initiatives like these. We would especially like to thank Diane, John, Nick, Joe, and Laureen for being there and helping us make it successful, as well as Justin Kowalski and Brandy Knoll on the North Allegheny side of things for letting us come into the school, letting us have that meeting space. We had about 25 students in attendance. We brought in pizza for them. They were able to eat their lunch while getting to hear from our council members. It was a really fantastic opportunity. A lot of students don't even know that council is a thing. So bringing in their local representatives and getting to hear from them and learn not just that they exist, but also what kind of impact they can have on their daily lives is a really important step to making those young people involved in our community's processes. And moreover, Junior Councilman Puri had a voter registration drive. He registered over 40 new voters at the senior high school. I'm hosting a similar drive early next month. In a lot of the social studies classes at North Allegheny, the teachers are heavily encouraging students to register to vote. I got my AP Gov test back the other day with a little cutout on it with a QR code to scan to go and register to vote. I've registered to vote myself. So students at North Allegheny are registering to vote. They are making themselves involved in like the civic process. So what's important now is things like that youth town hall are really important to show them what they are voting for on election day, besides those big ticket national items that Joe was talking about at the meeting. It's our job to show them what impact this council can have on their community and why they should make themselves educated about their local government whenever they go to vote. Sorry. Looking at reports from the town's various emergency services, I'd once again like to recommend, I don't know if the town has already done this because I brought it up a few months ago, but that they get involved, that they get in contact with the North Allegheny Senior High School for the career fair that happens every year. We bring in all the sophomores and all the juniors. There's tables set up from hundreds of not only local colleges, but service branches, trade schools, and every opportunity that students can really imagine in terms of what they want to do after high school. So I think it'd be really great to have a table from the local police department, the local fire department, or the ambulance services, just to show students how they can get involved in those types of fields. Thank you very much. That's all I have for you tonight.
Just the date for your career fair. Do you have that? Or it may be on the NNA website. Also.
I'm not sure. It'll be on the NA website, or I can email council with it, but it's gonna be in the last week of school, I believe, which would be
Okay.
June, like the first week of June,
So when is commencement this year?
June 6th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to tell you, have a great time at your senior banquet. That's probably more fun than the prom.
That's what I've heard.
Second thing I'm gonna tell you is that your time gets short here. I want to thank you for what you've done. You've been an exemplary leader at North Allegheny, and you've done a great job representing the student body. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
I also want to thank you for organizing our visit there, to learn that the students came on their what little free time they have during their day. The questions that they asked us, they obviously put some time into thinking about what they wanted to hear from us. And I'm sure your parents are proud of you, but know that you have a whole community behind you. We're all very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased with how the event went.
It
While
was wonderful.
I'm disappointed that it might be the only one that I get to see as junior councilman, I'm confident that we'll be able to continue more next year and in the years to come. So thank you very much.
Actually, like to make it a quarterly event.
Yeah,
Because I really think it's important that we hear from you guys, but more importantly, that you hear from us.
absolutely.
And just so everybody knows, I think most members of council would have loved to attend, but because of the sunshine law, they could only have 3 council members in attendance at that event.
Okay.
Well, I know I would have loved to have been there, and probably Jack and Nathan as well, and Doug too, so. So.
Yeah, exactly. The more council members we can hear from.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, thank you all very much for the help that you've been in making that a reality.
Thank you.
Good luck to you.
Okay. Now we will move on to liaison reports. We will start with McCandless Industrial Development Authority.
No meeting.
Okay, thank you. North Hills Council of Governments, Mr. Giorgetti is not with us this evening, but I believe there was the minutes, or did they have a meeting last?
We did not receive any minutes.
No, I don't think they had minutes, okay. And moving on, Mr. Wall, would you like to share what's happening with our Chamber of Commerce? And
You know, we are working with the Chamber of Commerce. The McCandless Business Alliance was established as kind of an arm of the Northern Regional Chamber of Commerce, North Pittsburgh Regional Chamber of Commerce. We've had 3 meetings. We've had a lot of discussion. At our last meeting, Liz came and really created a stir. You know, all these businesses in McCandless have wanted a relationship with Town Hall. They've wanted a relationship with our administration and they want to be involved in the town. We're giving them a vehicle to do that. We're giving them opportunities to help us actually bring more activities and more opportunities to people within the town. Liz, you did a great job. I mean, the biggest thing when people move into the town or people are looking for something in the town, and I see it all the time on the neighborhood blocks. Where can I find a plumber? Or where can I find a handyman? We're trying to get all the businesses in McCandless to come and join us and to be a part. President Clunan has done a great job of attending each one of these. She came up with a great idea, which actually several different ideas, which we're going to implement in the rest of the year. Okay. These businesses are going to be a part of our 175 and they're excited about being a part of McCandless moving forward. Thank you.
any questions from Mr. Wall? Okay, and then, now we can take public comment on administration and finance.
All right, 96350 Old Coomer Road. I just had some comments about some of the communication things. You know, Judge McCandless, was he single? Did he have a family? Are there any women in McCandless's history? And that perhaps when we talk about the history of McCandless, like maybe it's a little more robust. And some of the, you know, Oliver Hazard Perry, George Washington, it's nice, but what else is there about McCandless for the history? And as far as the brand refresh, is that something council has asked for? Is there community involvement on this brand refresh? And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any further comments on administration and finance? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, planning and zoning reports. We will start with planning director's report for April, please.
Good evening, council. So, good evening, council. To go over my director's report, a few updates regarding the planning commission and zoning hearing board. For the May meeting, there is one item on the agenda, the harm preliminary subdivision and land development. This item was heard at the April 7th meeting and tabled until the May meeting to address comments on the town engineering letter. There's the items that were reviewed and recommended to council for approval, include PLC 2609, the North Park Boathouse Playground, which will be heard tonight, as well as PLC 26-11, zoning map amendment request for North Allegheny School District. There will be a public hearing scheduled and held on June 8th in accordance with all the municipalities planning code timeline requirements. As for the zoning hearing board, there was no April meeting. The deadline for the May meeting was today, and there's a number of items that will be heard in May. And as for my director's report, I included a summary of the adjustments that were discussed in the public hearing for the sign amendment, just to kind of give a wrap up of that item. And that's all I got for this month.
Thank you. Does council have any questions for Mr. Ennis? Okay. None, we'll go to our liaison reports. Thank you very much. Planning Commission, Ms. Alt.
Not wanting to repeat anything that Matt just talked about. The playground though, at the boathouse, super excited to be involved with that. It's going to address a number of site issues that have been concerns. And plus a magnificent new playground for kids, grandkids, whoever you are taking to the park. So I'm really excited to see that get started and underway.
Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Alt? Okay, zoning hearing board, Mr. Wall.
There's no meeting.
Thank you. And do we have any public comment on planning and zoning?
Paul Heckman, 10529 Abbey Lane. The playground sounds fantastic, but in reading it, is this something that we are financially involved in, or is this a political involvement relative to the zoning and planning that the county doesn't have purview over to do, so they have to come to us and say, may we do this?
It was under the municipalities planning code for development requirements.
Okay, because that part of the park is McCandless. That's what we assumed, but it was out there with discussion, at least in our household, are we paying for this or not? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
You are, it's a different way. Different text.
Ellen Wright, 9635 Old Toomer Road. Yeah, paying for it in a different way. I mean, I was here when they drained the North Park Lake because of all the sediment that had built up. The engineer has a lot of questions about the sediment and erosion, that the plan is not strong enough in preventing erosion and sediment from getting into the lake. She makes, he or she, whoever did the report, makes multiple references to how that's a problem. I think that's a concern for how close the playground is to the lake. Once again, I'm concerned that council is voting on something without having minutes from the planning commission. That meeting was April 7th. They have not met again. And so there are no minutes that you have from planning commission to see what their approved minutes are. And planning commission was told that if there were a problem with the plans, that it would come back to planning commission before it went to council. Well, there are problems with the plans. The engineer has called out the sediment and erosion problems. Then and it was not a unanimous vote, which it's not clear from. There was a member of the planning commission who was very concerned that the project needed a chapter 105 permit because it was close to the stream. It wasn't sure at the time of the meeting. It wasn't clear if it needed that permit. The engineer is now saying that yes, it does need a chapter 105 permit. So the engineer reviewed this April 22nd, which is again after the planning commission had their meeting. Then the planning director references that the Allegheny County Economic Development reviewed the plans, but that plan wasn't done prior to the April 7th meeting. And the Allegheny County review has many questions and problems with the plan as submitted. So I would ask tonight that you table this and send it back to planning commission so that they can review it
with all of the up-to-date information, because planning commission is being told that council will well send it back to us. And council's being told that planning commission has approved it. And they approved it hesitantly. And I don't want to see the lake being drained again. Not that this project's going to put that much into drain, but it's still erosion and sediment that's going into the lake. And because McCandless is the organization that's responsible for making sure that the plans are done, following everything, I would ask that you table it. The chapter 105 permit has not been submitted from the documentation I've seen. And that the engineer's comments are reviewed by planning commission and then bring it back here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
Well, Mr. Ennis, if you could take a moment to comment on any of those concerns that were brought up about that plan.
Yeah, sure. Regarding the submission for the North Park Boathouse, at the time of the submission, and this is very typical with land development approvals, is that whenever a submission is submitted, there's a number of comments that the engineer, typically reviews. They look at erosion and sediment control, they look at stormwater, they look at the setback, site distance, all of those things. It's very typical for an application to have some level of stormwater comments or comments regarding the stormwater. The process, the way that it works is that an applicant submits to the town at the beginning of a month. They are then on the next planning commission agenda. Those minutes are then conducted and approved at the next meeting. So it's actually not possible for a meeting minutes for a planning commission to get approved prior to the approval under the planning guidelines from the municipalities planning code. In between the planning commission meeting and the town council meeting, per the recommendation from the planning commission recommendation was a recommendation for approval with the caveat that the items are addressed in the town's engineering memo and any subsequent review, which is very typical for these type of land development reviews. And that's why the item that was included in your packet is the additional review that the town had conducted post the planning commission meeting. So there would have been another submission that the county had submitted on April 17th to address the comments that were discussed at the planning commission meeting. And then those were then reviewed again by the town engineer. The town engineer then submitted to the town an additional review, which is then reviewed, and then that is included within this packet. So the anticipation is that the applicant will then present the application tonight, discuss those items. You have an adjusted letter that shows that is in relation to the comments that the county had made in their second submission prior to this meeting. And that's very typical with the municipalities planning code and the process for land development approvals and all of the necessary timelines.
Thank you.
Mr. Ennis. So, yeah, please, Mr.
I also wanted to add another item. There does appear to be some confusion about the role of the planning commission. And I think Matt's comments were very on point, very informative. But the planning commission is a recommending body only. Once they make a recommendation, there is no legal obligation to return to the planning commission. There is no legal obligation to take it back to them. In fact, the case law is such that even if there was a procedural issue with the planning commission, they didn't follow the Sunshine Act, they didn't follow the MPC, as long as it goes through that body and there's a recommendation made, this body, the governing body, can make a decision. And so there's been a lot of comments about planning and sending it back and think it's unnecessary legally and practically. So I just want to make sure everybody in the public understands that is what the rule is, that is what the law is. It's not necessarily what the comments that you hear are. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Corbo.
You're welcome.
Okay. Do we have any further public comment on planning and zoning?
Just a question, Rita Martin, 10585.
you said that it doesn't go back. So you guys are the final rulers on this. So you could take a really strong look at it and let us know that all these things have occurred as they should, and then you will vote accordingly. That would be very good to know what you think about this plan. Not just yes, 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 but oh, I've looked this over and this is what, you know what I mean? That's helpful to us, knowing that you are really scrutinizing what the planning commission is doing, because this is our town and we need to protect it for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
That too, if you'd like.
Yes, please.
To respond to Ms. Martin, all of the motions and decisions that are made by this council are conditioned upon compliance with all of the comments and regulations by Mr. Ennis' department, by the engineer. And so this group is voting, if they vote yes, they are voting that they believe that Mr. Ennis and the engineer and all the other professionals will do their job to hold the developers to what they're required to do. That's what they're doing. That's why the language is such in these motions and in the decision letters that go out. Because it. Yep,
Thank you
you're welcome.
thank you. Okay, do we have any further public comment on planning and zoning? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, recreation reports. Park and Recreation Director's report for month of April. Don't have Abby to hear, but is anyone presenting that tonight?
I had some highlights for Abby on her behalf. Working on a few ongoing projects with Liz, working on the town social media, driving attendance, engagement, and promoting events. Abby had a successful brick order. The first round of bricks came in. 37 bricks will be placed on the walkway at the HCC. 2 successful events she wanted to highlight. 263 kids participated or registered, over 200 checked in, which was fantastic, for the egg hunt this year. Anybody who was up there saw what a good success it was. Thank you to everybody who participated and volunteered their time. Another great event that she held, over 260 people registered and 200 cars came through, was the shredding event co-hosted with AARP. They said this was one of their most successful shred events they've had, and they can't wait to do it again. Already starting our planning for September 19th, Community Day. She highlights a few rec programs in there and a few grants that we'll talk about a bit later. On the 175th day of the year, June 24th, there'll be a relaunch for McCandless 175 with the updated list of events. So we'll pay attention to that coming up also. She did want to highlight 2 events coming up in May. May 16th, Heritage Center will host a house history program to help people research historical info about their homes, providing suggestions for free and paid resources. And then also the 3rd Thursday lecture series, May 21st, features a speaker from the Roberto Clemente Museum about the Great One. Registration is open now.
Thank you. A lot going on, and we always recommend going back to our website, find out more information. Some of these events do fill up, especially at the Heritage Center. I think that we were at full capacity for our last speaker event. So we will move now to liaison reports, Ms. Alt with the Heritage and Cultural Center.
Since Jeff's not here, I can say we were actually probably a bit over capacity at the last Thursday speaker. We won't tell them. No, and the Clemente one is going to fill up. The gentleman actually is going to bring tickets for the museum, for the Clemente Museum, which will be awarded as a door prize. The really exciting part is the last speaker enjoyed the experience so much that he has already shared that experience with other people, and 2 people have approached Rob wanting to be involved, wanting to be a speaker in our speaker series. So that's an amazing thing. That the word of mouth can spread that well, that it's such a well-attended event that people really look forward. And I think this year especially, the list of topics are so beautiful and applicable, especially in our 175th year. So just wanted to make sure, get on that Clemente one, because once we fill up, that'll be it.
Is it Mr. Reader? presenting? Do you remember?
You know what? I can't remember off the top of my head. I think so, yeah.
Okay, he's great. I have heard him speak before. It's worth going. And with the house history, is there limits to that, or can anyone just stop in and, are you familiar with how that's
I
going to work?
am not, but I can certainly find out and
Great.
report back.
Thank you. Any questions from Ms. Alt about the history?
I'd like to add something if I could. The Shining Star Gala recognizing outstanding citizens in the town of McCandless will be held again this year, November 6th at the Camelot. The list of awardees will go up on the website here shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
I did want to make one other comment. First of all, Lorraine, you're doing a great job at the FTPC. If people really need to understand that you can learn an awful lot about our town by just spending a couple hours in there. I wanted to compliment the library for an outstanding gala. It was held. Okay, but you know what? Everybody volunteered, okay? Everybody from staff to, it was a fantastic event. I wish I could have stayed longer. But it was really amazing. And the theme was Phantom of the Opera. And it was just a great event. The other thing that I want to do, because it's recreation reports, is once again reiterate how great it was to have so many people show up in the rain to pick up trash. We really couldn't do this without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Is there any public comment on recreation? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to agenda item 9, the town manager's report.
Thank you. Just a few highlights from the report. Spent a significant amount of time this last month working on collective bargaining agreement requests and MOU requests for our police and public works. Friends, it's contract year for our police, so we should have something to present to council in the coming months to move that along. Hiring process is well underway. Applications closed on Friday. As we may have heard just mentioned at the beginning, we had 16 applicants for our police officer hiring process. The written and physical agility tests take place tomorrow. Staff and council participated in our strategic planning session. I think it was very beneficial. We had consultants from Catherland Strategies assist us in that process. They'll be making a presentation at the coming meetings to talk about what we reviewed there and some action items that we can hope to get accomplished in the next 12 to 18 months. In our finance department, we did finally solidify the contract for our new finance software, which will help our budgeting process. It'll help the public facing budgeting process look a lot better for 2027. Held a review on our quarterly investment review, the police pension plan. It's important for residents and for our employees to know that we spend a significant amount of time with our investment consultant, making sure that that money is being put into the right places so that we can continue the health and vitality of the plan for a long time to come. We do have a great relationship with our consultant. They see what we need. We work with the actuary in order to make sure that our minimum requirements are met. Katie's going to give you an update in a moment on some grants. We did meet with Gateway to start to talk about renovation for the front lobby and for this powers room. We can safe to say that we can think this room is maybe a little dated and that we could update it. We also need to update the security and the way that we welcome our visitors to town hall. We should be reviewing that this year. Hopefully we can put some design into the budget for 27 and hopefully some construction by 28. Public Works and Infrastructure, the big upcoming topic will be stormwater. Stormwater committee meeting will be held this month. We have met on site at a couple significant places of erosion. 2 projects that are in the budget to be completed this year include the Timber Trail project and some erosion control at Stonebrook Village. There are also numerous other properties where we've had residents come to us with issues that they've had for a number of years. The issues may or may not have been addressed. Some that were not addressed were due to budgetary concerns. It's a very complicated project, or they are very complicated projects with significant financial constraints, and then also limited, I'll say, returns. We need to start addressing those over the coming years. How we fund and address those properties is something that we need to start to think about. You know, when you have a property owner who's had a significant amount of erosion for 20+ years, and we've told them for 20+ years we would take care of it, but we don't. And the cost of that project is roughly $250,000 to benefit maybe 1 to 5 residents. It's a project that needs done. How do we successfully fund those and complete our duty that we have to those residents to take care of the issues they bring up to us? These are hard conversations we're going to have as the year goes on. You know, we've taken bites at the low-hanging fruit with stormwater. We've taken bites at some more complicated projects, and now it's time to get into the really hard ones. And how we address those really hard ones is, you know, something I want council to start to think about, you know, and be prepared to discuss when we talk about the 2027 budget. Lastly, under the miscellaneous section, I want to thank our junior council for the junior council town hall. It was a great time. We did get to meet the new executive director from the Northland Library. We look forward to a long and successful career for her and working with her as we had in the past with Ms. Steele. I'll turn it over to Katie, who's been working diligently on grants, and she'll give you an update on where we stand on the grant process.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Schwend. Good evening, council. One of the functions of my position here with the town is a submission of grant applications. So I wanted to provide you all with an overview of the applications that we've submitted recently. So within the last month, we submitted 3 Green Light Go applications, one for Perry Highway at Perrymont and Rolls House Road, one for Perry Highway at Cumberland Road, and one for Ingomar Road and Harmony Drive. All 3 of these projects are a complete replacement of the existing signal. They include new ADA equipment, new signal equipment, and new poles. For the Perry Highway Perrymont application, this will also have timing as part of the signal. So we'll also be looking at adjacent signals to maximize congestion timing through that intersection. For the signal at Ingomar Road and Harmony Drive, an important piece of this application was an update of emergency preemption equipment with the adjacent Ingomar Fire Company. So all 3 of those applications went in at the end of last month. Town council at one of the last meetings approved a resolution for a community conservation partnerships program, or C2P2 application for Pontiac Park for phase 1. Phase 1 consists of a walking trail, ADA accessible parking, site preparation, stormwater work, and a meadow planting with native trees. So that request is due on Thursday of this week. We'll be putting that in soon. Phase 2 of the Pontiac Park development is the play structures that will accompany the rest of the park. We're also currently working on a Greenways Trails and Recreation Program application. The function of this application will be for a pedestrian connection from Wall Park directly to the Brant Trail. Right now, you have to go out and walk on Sloop Road to get to the Brant Trail. So this is a complicated application because we'll have to cross the creek there. But we are certainly working on that application now, and that application is due at the end of May. And the automated red light enforcement applications are due in June. This will also be signal upgrades. So we'll be working on those applications, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
When you talk about and you'll have to forgive me, because my memory just doesn't compute. At Pontiac Park, do we have plans for any kind of structure there, the pavilion?
Not at this time.
No, the only plans we've talked about are still preliminary, and it will include a playground structure of some type, but no pavilion.
Well, I'm just asking, because I know it's not that big a plot of land, but just a thought.
Thank you. Any further questions? No, thank you. Thanks. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number, we have the engineer report, if you want to speak to that at all.
Engineer's reports in your packet. If you have any specific questions, I'd happy to answer them also.
Okay. Okay, hearing no questions, moving to the town attorney's report.
My report was also part of the packet. Happy to talk to you offline or have an executive session if we need to discuss anything therein. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 11, we'll start with old business. This first is an action concerning ordinance 1566. Would someone like to make a motion and a second, and then we can discuss?
I will make a motion to approve ordinance 1566, an ordinance of the town council of the town of McCandless, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, authorizing the establishment of a councilmanic district commission and appointment of its members for the purpose of developing a report and recommendations for the revision of the town's councilmanic districts in compliance with Article 1, Section 103 of the town charter.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hagerson. Okay, Mr. Twin, or Mr. Corbel, anything brief comments? We've been through this, we've seen this before. We are hoping to finish this year.
Maps in place just in time.
Yes.
30 cents.
This will be in place. We've discussed this for a number of times. I don't believe there should be any other comment unless anybody has any.
Okay. Thank you. Hearing no questions, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving ordinance 1566, an ordinance of town council of the town of McCandless, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda, action concerning ordinance 1567. Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion. Motion to approve ordinance 1567, an ordinance of the town council of the town of McCandless, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, amending Article 1305, signs as amended of the Town Code of Ordinances to revise the regulations for on-premises signs, off-premises signs, temporary signs, and digital display sign message duration.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Babish, Ms. Alt. Okay, any further discussion from council or questions? Okay. If you want to make any comments, a brief comment on, yeah.
Okay. All right, I wanted to take a minute here and address some of the comments that were made earlier about this ordinance. First, the memo that was supplied to Mr. Schwent is part of the hearing record, but we do not read those into the record at a hearing. That's not part of the process, but it is part of the hearing record as it relates to if anything is appealed for this hearing. Number two, there was no violation of the Sunshine Act at this meeting. The item was on the agenda. There was no need to advertise or repost an agenda. The commission voted 7-0 to approve the recommendation that you're discussing tonight. Moreover, as I stated earlier, if there was a defective recommendation, it doesn't invalidate any action you're taking tonight. There's also an allegation that there were two amendments that are not identified. That's not correct. They are identified in the Planning Commission minutes from February 3rd. That they include the removal of on-premises sign regulations from the draft, deferring it to a broader zoning review, and two, revising the abandoned sign removal clause per Commissioner O'Donnell's suggestion. These are both incorporated into the draft you have before you this evening. The 60-foot maximum length removal, that allegation was also incorrect. That has been addressed because the 60-foot maximum length, it doesn't jive with the sign area and height limits. Those are sufficient to constrain the 60-foot length cap. So that was dropped from the ordinance. And Mr. N has discussed this at length at the hearing. Next, the version before council incorporates both of those amendments. I mentioned that. The county review was considered. There were minor comments and they were addressed. And lastly, this is not a spot zoning issue. This amendment applies to all parcels in 5 different non-zoning districts along McKnight Road. It includes hundreds of properties. It doesn't single out an individual parcel for different treatment. The ordinance simultaneously restricts off-premise sign authorization in districts where signs would be incompatible with residential uses, demonstrating a strong public welfare rationale. This is the entire reason we're making this amendment, is to protect the residents of the town. Whereas the original zoning amendment that was passed a couple of years ago left some gaps. This fills it and doesn't do it in a way that is quote spot zoning. That's all I had to add.
Mr. Corbin,
You're very welcome.
there's no further comment or questions from council. All in favor of approving ordinance 1567, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, next is a discussion of the proposed e-bike ordinance. It's been a few months since we've considered this. I don't believe this council has considered it, so so I'd like to, open up for discussion if any, or if you want to reintroduce anything, Mr. Schwinn.
I wanted to put this back in front of you. This kind of fizzled out of the table at the end of 2025. We had started to address some concerns regarding e-bikes on town property. You know, this ordinance, if you would consider it, only applies to town property, not to public streets and rights of way. Those are regulated by the state. So we did have some concerns at the time about whether e-bikes, along the Brand Trail, other places in town, should we put in any regulations and start the conversation? We had this in front of everybody in October. There were a few comments, I believe, in November about some concerns with some of the language and some definitions, but I just wanted to put it in front of council again. Number one, to see if it is still a priority in order to have this passed so that we can have this legislation in place for our properties. And if it is, take a look at this draft and see if you think there are any comments and suggestions. So I guess I'll start with the first question, is if we think it's still relevant or not.
Any comments from council?
I have a couple of comments. Number one, we have e-bike problems all over the town. They're all over the town. But it doesn't make sense to me to go down this path. We're only going to talk about our properties, our parks. We have problems in residential streets where these kids are zooming around, creating havoc. Okay, they're not wearing helmets. Okay, because it's not technically a bicycle, it's not technically a motorcycle. What is it? And that's something that the state has to take up. I almost think that this is a waste of time right now because there's farmland. There needs to be more definition to what this is before we take it up. And it's kind of a waste if we're only going to do it in our parks.
My concern would be liability. What's our liability? Having these e-bikes on town property.
I think you're right, Joe, in that it's limited what we can do, but at the same time, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. We can make a better experience for the people in our parks, even if it's limited.
Listen, if it were up to me, I'd go all the way.
Right.
I'd outlaw. I would. I think they're a menace. But at the same time, until we can do something that definitive, it almost feels like we're taking small bites of the cookie. I think what we ought to do is we ought to legislate these e-bikes as hard as we can and have PennDOT come back after us. It's not as though they're doing any. The county and PennDOT are not doing us any great favors because they're not dealing with this issue. If we deal with it and we go all the way with it, great. I'm all for it. But it doesn't do us any good if we go halfway.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Mr. Hickerson, do you have any thoughts on?
I do have my concerns about e-bikes. I've seen them come out of like corners without following traffic rules. And, I am with Mr. Walt, that they are of concern to drivers, especially.
Thank you. That's all?
I do believe that when we're talking about town property, we need to consider some of the people who are using these particular areas. We're talking about families with small children, perhaps. We're talking about walkers who might have headphones on. So while we may want to conquer the world and address e-bikes all over the city, state, and world. The only thing that we have the authority to do is to address it in McCandless. So I feel that if prior council thought that this was something that needed to be addressed, I think that having some regulations around it in our parks, on our trails, where there are children, family, maybe older people, people who are not aware of their surroundings because they have headphones or earbuds in, maybe it is something we need to look into.
And let me be clear, I'm not trying to conquer the world. What I am trying to do is eliminate a family of 4 get run over by an e-bike on Woodland Road or even in your neighborhood. Cause it can't.
And again, but we don't control that part of it, but this part of it we do, and if maybe we could do something. And maybe someone sees that and says, hey, that's a really good first step you took. Is there anything we can do to expand it? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, but we'll never know without taking that first step, maybe.
Oh, I understand, but I also believe that we need to think outside the box a little bit. And if nobody else is going to step up and do the responsible thing, I think this council could. This council could say, we don't want e-bikes in McCandless. Now, I am as certain as I am sitting here that we're gonna have trouble with that. But I am also certain that we're gonna have trouble limiting them anywhere.
Yeah, oh. I agree with the trouble that they can cause, but I also know that, you know, I think they're evolving into something that we're not going to see go away. And I think we're going to see more and more individuals. My husband, Santa Claus brought my husband an e-bike because he had both of his knees replaced.
Yeah.
So is he gonna be the one running you down? No, I could nag him to wear a helmet, but he does use the e-bike and plans to. And I think we're gonna see more and more individuals taking advantage of the technology to be outside, to be enjoying our parks, things like that.
But I know that we can't legislate responsibility. But I know your husband. I doubt very much if he's gonna cut a family of 4 off.
Probably not.
Right. You know,
But the thing is, we have to have rules for the people that want to follow the rules. They need to know what those rules are. As a parent, I want to know if my child gets a new e-bike for Christmas or their birthday or a scooter, I want to say, here are the rules. And we are going to follow these rules. We're gonna have a helmet on, you're gonna, go the speed, you're gonna do the things that you're supposed to do. I think it would be beneficial for the enjoyment of our parks and trails that others know that there are rules for these bikes. I think I agree, Mr. Wall, that it's a bigger problem. And I'd love to see something happen, but this is something we can make changes on. We can do this now. And I would like to move forward with this personally.
Well, because we've decided to discuss it tonight, we're taking no vote tonight.
No, this is a discussion if we want to move forward, yeah. There's no vote.
Do you need a head nod?
Well, I think based on the discussion you had, that we should consider it. And I would say and ask of you if you can think about the language proposed between now and May 11th. If you have any suggestions for things that you'd like to see changed or added, feel free to email them to me ahead of time so we could add them as discussion points, or else we could discuss the language related to the ordinance in May and then potentially vote on it sometime in June.
Okay, thank you. So we will move forward with that further discussion with a possible vote in June. Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll move to new business. We have a motion regarding resolution 2026-9. Anybody would like to make the motion, please?
I move to approve resolution 2026-09, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of McCandless, Allegheny County, adopting the 2026 Allegheny County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Babich. Okay, any questions or discussion regarding this resolution from council? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And next action concerning the North Park Boathouse. We do have somebody who would like to make a presentation, but let's start with a motion and second, please.
I make a motion to approve the North Park Boathouse Playground Site Improvements Plan as submitted by KU Resources, as reviewed by the town engineer in their letter dated March 31st, 2026, and updated April 22nd, 2026, and recommended for approval by the planning commission.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hickerson. Okay, before we open up to council questions, I think you'd like to make a brief presentation for us.
Hi, I'm Hillary Garnish. I'm here representing Allegheny County Department of Parks. So this project is a playground renovation for the playground in North Park near the boathouse. You may be able to see there. Read the slide. Can you do the next slide? Oh, sorry. So some existing conditions. It's a fairly wet site. Much of the equipment has deteriorated over time. It was installed in 1999, I believe. There's some stormwater issues. Parking bays are a little short. There are flush restrooms on site. There's connection to an ADA accessible trail as well that we'll be connecting to. Next slide. So as part of this project, we'll be making a number of site improvements, additional parking with minimal increased asphalt, accessible trail to the playground from that new parking, as well as inclusive, accessible pathways throughout the site. The playground design itself is focused on inclusivity, accessibility, fun, of course, for all. So there will also be a rain garden on site to address some stormwater mitigation. We'll be planting 35 trees and also over 3,000 native perennial and shrub species within the rain garden. Have some visuals of the playground equipment on the next slide. This one shows some of the age 2 to 5 equipment. The next slide has some of the 5 to 12 equipment. Much of it uses sustainably harvested black locust wood, which is extremely hardy. Also lower carbon footprint than like plastic, for example. Yeah. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Will any of the trees continue the garden of the, I forget the sakura?
Oh, yes.
Trees?
Yeah,
I'd love
so
to see more of those.
Yeah, there are many of those near the site, but not directly within it, so they won't be impacted by this project. Okay. Yep.
How much intervention does the rain garden require maintenance wise upkeep?
So it'll require, regular weeding. We will need to make sure all the pipes connected to it are cleaned out when needed, so stormwater flows as it's designed to. But relatively minimal maintenance for the plant material itself. All native plants, doesn't need to be mowed, for example, or fertilized, so.
Just for the record, how far away is this from the lake?
I don't have an exact number. Does cross the road there. I want to say from the southern end, there's a scale bar on the plan there. Maybe Matt can get us an estimate. But with regards to the stormwater management and erosion and sediment control, we are working with Gateway Engineers and y'all to address some of the comments. Many of them have already been addressed. We've also submitted a NIPDES permit as part of the project and will be complying with all of their requirements as well. And we also will be submitting our Chapter 105 permit for the replacement of the existing stormwater outfalls. So we are dedicated to doing this by the book, and we're very invested in, you know, protecting our natural assets in the parks.
I've noticed through the years, having 4 children who've used that park often, it can get a little soupy there. So I'm assuming these changes will make this a little drier for us.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the goals of the project. We'll have under drains throughout the playground area, and that will be caught and managed by the rain garden before it flows out.
Okay, great.
This project requires an NPDES permit?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was over an acre of disturbance on site, which triggered that requirement.
And I can just confirm that just from a quick map using my computer, it looks to be over 115 to 120 feet, if not more than that. I was very conservative in my estimate.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion or questions from council? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the approval of the North Park Boathouse Playground Site Improvements Plan, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next up, item number C, discussion and potential action regarding the waste management contract extension. Would you like to just briefly, Mr. Schwen, share what we're looking at here?
Absolutely. I put this in the packet to start a discussion and hopefully take potential action on this item. In 2026, this is the final year of the base contract with Waste Management. 2021, Town of McCandless and Ohio Township participated in a joint bidding arrangement. And after we had ended a contract early, we ended up with Waste Management now. Kind of unique to our contract, and I'm not sure, I won't say too much about it, but we have the option to take 2 option years, which is our discretion. Sometimes language in option years for contracts says that both parties have to agree. In this choice, it's only us that can exercise that, which is unique and beneficial to us. I showed you some pricing that is in the memo so that you can see what the pricing arrangement is for 2027 and for 2028 for those 2 option years. I've also given you a reference, our North Hills COG, the other municipalities, their contract ends this year also. They have a 1-year option. That's anybody who, was not part of what we did with Ohio Township here too. Some of those municipalities would like to take that option. You can see that one didn't. They put it out to bid. They received a price, which was a low bidder that was not Waste Management, of $30.20 per month. Compare this to the $24.66 that we have per month. 2 other comparable contracts, bid from Robinson Township in 2024 and the Shaycog bid in 23. The 2027 amounts would be $33.19 and $39.79 respectively. The next time this goes to bid, the price is going to go up. As a few people noted in public comment, when you have a waste hauling situation, there are not a number of companies entering this market. They're not beating down the doors to compete. It's the same competitors with the same trucks, with the same service, with the same landfills. They typically know what they can handle and what they can't handle. And sure, some may be willing to expand at times, but also, others, there's not a whole lot of options here. Let's put it that way. And as the years go on, the options become fewer and fewer because this business is not desirable to be. That being said, you can, there will always be a certain number of comments and complaints that I think the town staff will hear, no matter who that hauler is. We have almost 12,000 houses that get serviced every week. When we hear 10 to 20 comments a week based on that number of houses, we have to look at that percentage and see if there are repeat situations, repeat neighborhoods, repeat routes, repeat days, and how we can correct them. One thing that I encourage everybody to do is look at Waste Management as your partner in this and not as an adversary. We As much as some folks may like to think that we could start our own garbage business, I would highly advise against that. So I think that, we have to look at how we can work with them to move forward. I took some notes during the public comment period. Well, I agree with you. I'm a waste management customer where I live right now, and I think by design, many companies, including them, have moved to an online system where they want you to correspond through chat, through email. It's the same way for Comcast or Verizon. It's the same way if you need to call Home Depot. They want you to go through the AI process, and they do, I think, whether it's for a cost reason or otherwise, might be more efficient for them to try and answer your questions not on the phone. Please call here, talk to Kelly. We do have people that we can get through to. And Kelly does a great job. If you haven't called her or talked to her, she's so positive. She can turn anything and make it sunshine and rain. Based on this pricing, I don't want to continue, but I'd like to say that I think based on the bid results we've seen, based on the option years that we have available, based on the fact that our partner during the bidding, OT, has already agreed to the 2-year extension, I strongly recommend that we agree to both option years now, and then we can revisit this for a joint bidding arrangement in 2028. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
I'd like to make a motion.
Do we have any questions from council before we make a motion?
Is it correct to assume that entering bidding and accepting this extension or considering this extension are mutually exclusive?
You cannot bid and accept the extension.
Any questions? I agree with many of the comments tonight, and I even called my brother in Ross as well, Mrs. Neathart, and he screenshotted his bill of $158.04 without yard waste.
Yeah, I pay it too.
Mr. Wall, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to extend the waste management contract by 2 years.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Hickerson, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, motion carries. We will extend the waste management contract by 2 years. Thank you.
Wait for you to put your.
Okay, final in business is discussion regarding proposed changes to ordinance related to stores requirements for all hydrants. We have Marshall Wisner online here. Would you like to start the discussion or Mr. Swend? Not sure.
I didn't know Marshall Wisner was joining us, so if Jeff wants to comment, feel free to go ahead, and if not, I'll fill in whatever you missed, Jeff.
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So obviously we're in the process of upgrading our hydrant systems with these storage adapters, and Westview Water is well underway. We have over 120 installed. The final shipment arrived last week, so they'll be continuing the project. So the obvious reason we're trying to do this is now we have approximately 190 private hydrants remaining in the town that would not be in would not be with what we're bringing our specs up to, right? So what we would do is basically give everybody a year who owns private hydrants to bring their hydrants up to our specs by outfitting them with stores adapters. And then moving forward, any new hydrant, let's say, that needs to be replaced or maybe getting installed in a new development, would need to comply with these specs. So that would mean either a public or a private hydrant would be required to have that storage fitting.
Marshall Wisner, a question was brought up during the public comment period about how these would be accessed and who would be responsible, et cetera. Would there be like how does a private neighborhood go about obtaining one?
So what it comes down to is whoever owns that hydrant, that private hydrant, right? Obviously public hydrants, the Westview Waters, they're easy.
Westview Water is responsible for them, but they are public hydrants, so we would actually, we pay that rental fee, right, every year, and it's in our budget. But anybody who owns that private hydrant, so whether it's a school district, a business, a HOA, etc., they would be the ones responsible for bringing their hydrants up to our specs.
And two main objectives here. You know, number one is we just got this grant. All the public hydrants will be retrofitted with these connections. However, as new neighborhoods develop, as hydrants get damaged and need replaced, the important language of all hydrants, not just all private hydrants, means that Westview Water will have to replace the hydrant with one that meets the same standards. That's important because right now they don't do that. So that is the main goal of changing the language in this ordinance. When it comes to identifying in the ordinance who has to pay for the private hydrants, I don't necessarily know we have to include that language in here because, you know, people who have a private hydrant already have code they have to follow that they know that's theirs. But what we can do is send correspondence to anybody who owns a private hydrant, telling them of the new legislation, telling them it's their responsibility, and potentially offering a couple different places to choose purchase items from, or contractors that may offer the service to. So we'll have to do a communications blitz. Good thing we have a new great communications person. We'd be able to get this out directly to those people. So, you know, if you do have an HOA, you'd hear in a straight letter what it is and not have to just, you know, hear a warning and then be told later that you're out of compliance.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Okay. No, I'm not sure if we are taking action on this.
Just discussion. I wanted to see what everybody's ideas were on this. If nobody has any comments to change to the draft, we can go through the advertisement process, and we'll have this on your schedule for May or June adoption.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Jeff, for your thorough comments.
Thanks, Mr. Wisner, for being here with us tonight.
Anytime.
Moving on to agenda item number 13, which is public non-agenda comments. If somebody would like to make a comment, please step forward.
Ellen Wright, 9635 Old Coomer Road. So I'm a little concerned about the May meeting. There's just one meeting and it'll be a double agenda with lots of topics. And then I'm guessing that the audit might be presented in May. So it seems like a lot. So I really enjoyed the meetings in January, February, and the first meeting in March. It was so wonderful to hear council discussing things before they took a vote. Now, there was some discussion tonight, but not on either of the ordinances. And I'm a little concerned that I am not allowed to give paperwork to members of council during the meetings. So I cannot show any documentation, and then the solicitor can say I'm wrong. Well, there's no documentation for me to show you. And I think that's sort of a shrinking of council's duty. As I understand it, as the community, we elect council members. Council members employ people to carry out things, but as a member of the community, and you are my counsel, if you choose to ignore the paperwork, say it doesn't make sense, that's fine, but at least you receive it and you can make that decision. Because, for example, there was someone from the solicitor's office at Planning Commission, and that person never said this will never come back to Planning Commission. So Mr. Corbel has made a big point that it never goes back to Planning Commission. So why didn't the attorney at the Planning Commission state that when that was being discussed at Planning Commission? So it's helpful if I can give you documentation, and then you can make your own decisions, as opposed to the person who's making the rules that I can't give you paperwork is then the person who's responsible for saying that what I'm saying doesn't make sense. As I understand counsel, that I can give you the information in writing so you can see it, and then
have Mr. Corbel say what he wants to say, and then make your own decision. So thank you, council, very much. And I hope that in the future, we can work together for the better of McCandless. Thank you. Oh, one more thing. Has Mr. Corbel ever met a development project that he doesn't like? Just as an aside. Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Before my 5 minutes start, Lynn Atman, 806 Saratoga Drive. Can I ask Mr. Schwent, that engineer report, are you allowed to ask, was there no public comment on that report? Like, you
The
don't,
comment period's available at the beginning for anything that's on the agenda.
okay. I didn't know what it was about, so I had something to ask, but anyway, this is about that resolution 202603. Town Council, I just want to know if you have considered passing an ordinance that requires employers to check the backgrounds and the eligibility of people that will come to work here in the US in McCandless. They should be proactive so that things would not jeopardize safety, like the Ridgecrest employee and what he did in McCandless Crossing. Many numerous, and we don't know how many people were reportedly sexually assaulted, that this could have been avoided. These could be your family members and your loved ones. We need to protect those most vulnerable at the Ridgecrest and other town citizens. Also, has the police department had any interaction with law enforcement agencies regarding fugitives and that are known as illegals other than ICE? 3, need to radically revise or revoke this resolution 202603, and I will be here to continue to ask this in the future. It's not going away. 4, word is out that McCandless is a sanctuary city in this county, and as a resident, I am not proud of this. Mr. Giorgietti and Ms. Clunan said no such thing, but it is here as well, as in cities like Boston, Philly, New York, Pittsburgh now, Chicago, Minneapolis. These attract the illegal immigrants. I believe this is a safe haven, they say, for them, but is unsafe for us as residents. We will come in second to the illegal immigrants. 3, groups out there, there's been conferences in Pittsburgh, in fact, how to legally loot businesses. What is going on? I never heard of anything so absurd. Like signals of neighbors when ICE is doing their job. What is going on? Squads confront ICE council. The ICE squads to confront ICE. Council needs to protect our citizens because citizens count on you. As well as Doug and Joe have made their vote, which we agree with, which I agree with, to make McCandless safe instead of being a progressive leader town here. Please use your common sense when you make these decisions. We want to protect our citizens. We don't want to be a progressive town. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello. Good evening. Barbara Richards, 305 Manor Court. I would like to start by saying thank you to President Clunan for her leadership and the leadership that you are showing and how you are running your council meetings, for the respect you show for your citizens and for your fellow council members. I'm sure it will continue, and perhaps we can find a way to call out the inaccurate and false narratives that are being read into the record recently by citizens who seem to be upset with the recent legal change in leadership in McCandless. First, I continue to support Resolution 2026-03. Second, there is no connection between the passage of Resolution 2026-03 and the actions taken by ICE in the Ridgecrest assisted living case. If anything, it appears to me that ICE is disregarding and disrespecting our home rule municipality laws, and that it is a direct reflection on the McCandless police and the laws they are trying to follow to protect us. So their gripe should be with ICE. Also, the petition, or perhaps survey is a better word, that former Councilman Casey has now spoken of twice at meetings was my personal effort with my neighbors and friends who could not attend the meeting and wanted to have their voices heard. I think there were about 40 signers. I think way more than 40 McCandless signatures could have been collected had all of McCandless been targeted. It contained only suggestions we, the undersigned, rightly thought should be addressed in the resolution. That's all it was. I'm so sorry that Mr. Casey accused this council of using that survey, my survey, in any other way. It is just not true what he said. If people opposing any resolution had actually read my petition survey, they would realize that it was not what President Clunan and legal advisors came up with and presented. This is just another sad attempt to disparage new leadership in McCandless. I also hope that in the future, the minority governing side on council and in the citizenry, at the very least, will give the respect that is due this duly elected council and not address them by their first names during public meetings. How petty. Thank you, Ms. Saul, President Clunan, Mr. Hickerson, Mr. Babich, for your service to McCandless, and I wish you the best in the coming years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any further public comments on non-agenda items?
John Harrison, 1473 Hedwig Drive, Elson Park. You know, Doug, Joe, thank you for defending on trying to shut down 2026-03. Unfortunately, it's here. When you have something like this, and from the last speaker, and saying things about minorities and majorities, something like that should go on the ballot. Let the people decide. Because that takes it out of your hands and puts it in ours. We elected every one, well, we can't say we elected every one of you, but we elect our representative from our area to represent us. And that one person is representing 2,000 people, 3,000 people, sometimes more. And depending on where you stand, you sometimes agree with what they do, and sometimes you don't agree with what they do. But unfortunately, this council has become political. And it wasn't that way through a lot of different things that have gone on over the years. And it's sad to see. So we have a chance to make a difference. You can make a resolution to change that ordinance, or you can leave it there. And as everything happens in this borough, people remember what happens. They don't forget. So just remember that when election time comes around, we don't forget. And then tonight we talked about e-bikes, and I recommend every council person to go and put in, there's a tool. It's called Google. Plug it in, e-bikes, see what the rules are across the Commonwealth. See what local municipalities do and don't do. You have signs out back that say no skateboards allowed in the park. If they're not there, then they've been changed. Why do we put them there? We put them there because kids weren't responsible enough, the parents weren't responsible enough to have kids doing stupid things. Kids will be kids. We were all one of those at one time or another. Some longer than others, some not so far along that they were kids. But by doing that and putting things into place, there are actually speed limits that they're allowed to go. Municipalities put restrictions on bike paths. Are they allowed on sidewalks? Aren't they allowed on sidewalks? Other people are already doing it. McCandless could be the cutting edge of sitting there saying, okay, you know what? E-bikes are not allowed on sidewalks. Clear, end of story. Then you can sit there and wait until somebody gets hit on one of them and gets killed because they thought they were cool. I feel bad for the police department. Chief is not here tonight because I'd actually like to have a conversation with him on it. But the e-bikes are a problem. And they're only going to get worse. Trish, I agree with you. Having them and being responsible is one thing. Having them and buying them from your kid and giving them to your kid with no stipulations and no rules, that's being a poor parent. Because the kid doesn't have the common sense to not drive them in a parking lot, weaving in and out of cars. Racing across the ball field when kids are out in the ball field playing. So we have a chance to make a difference. We should do it. And the other thing is the lights on all the lots that we're paying electricity for, and also with the new lights, can they be put on timers, or actually not on timers, but the whoever's using them can actually turn them off when they're done. Because the ones out here right now, they're on, and I know that the kids went home an hour and a half ago. We as taxpayers pay for those lights. So if we can extend your budget by saving money, can we do it? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, Bishop Caliendo, 10529 Abbey. Butler County has an agreement to cooperate with ICE. Last week, they were contacted by the Pennsylvania County's risk pool and notified them that county employees acting under the direction of any federal agency dealing with immigration enforcement will be excluded from liability coverage beginning June 1st. Thank you for passing that ordinance. If that would be true and they would apply that to McCandless, what would our cost have become? And nobody wants a tax increase. What would this have cost had we lost liability coverage because we would have agreed to cooperate with ICE? So thank you again for passing that. Additionally, sanctuary city is not defined. Sanctuary city is only defined when those passing a law stating that they will be a sanctuary city explicitly states that. McCandless is not a sanctuary city, and the city of Pittsburgh is not a sanctuary city. So I just wanted to state that for the record. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, is there any further public comments this evening? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you. And a second? Second. Mr. Hickerson. All in favor of adjournment, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good meeting, good evening.
Hey, I gotta find out.
Figured out.
See you there, Jonathan.